Hello, welcome to the update. I'm Abby Smith. The Energy Market Regulator has warned power bills could go up by more than $430 in some parts of the country this summer. The regulator says a forecast El Nino weather system, which will bring dry and hot conditions, is set to see people needing to run their air conditioners more. A bunch of free pop-up screening clinics for cardiovascular disease are being rolled around across the country. Despite 90% of us having at least one risk factor, nearly two-thirds of adults over 45 haven't had a recent heart checkup. Cardiologist Professor Stephen Nichols says it's still the leading cause of death in Australia.
We know that one Australian will die every 12 minutes due to heart disease. More than 50,000 Australians will have a heart attack every year. So it tells us that we've still got a long way to go.
Daniel Andrews has brushed off suggestions he's trashed Victoria's reputation by reneging on hosting the 2026 Commonwealth Games. The Victorian Premier refused to say whether Victoria could have to pay $1 billion for pulling the pin, saying negotiations are still ongoing. He's also refused to say how much has already been spent. One of the dingoes involved in the attack on a woman on Gari on Monday morning has been humanely destroyed. The dingo had been wearing a tracking collar since April after being identified as high risk. The decision was made in consultation with rangers and the island's traditional owners. 23-year-old Sarah Pete is recovering after receiving dozens of bites. New figures from the NAB suggest more Aussies are making cutbacks on streaming and subscription services. The bank's Kylie Young says those amounts add up in savings.
Around 30% of Australians have made cutbacks on things like TV and music streaming services or other subscriptions like all-in-one delivery apps, and they're saving around $50 each month, or more than $600 a year.
107 years after their deaths on the bloody fields of France, 7 Anzacs are finally being laid to rest. Extensive DNA testing has identified the soldiers whose remains were found in mass graves. A state funeral will be held this morning for former federal Labor leader Simon Crean. The 74-year-old died of a heart attack while hiking in Germany last month. The service to be held at Melbourne's St Paul's Cathedral. The unions representing actors on strike say they've been stonewalled in discussions for better pay and working conditions. Actors have joined writers in strike action, raising concerns about the use of artificial intelligence in the industry and pushing for better pay from streaming services. Screen Actors Guild President Fran Drescher has told CBS there's been no discussion with companies and studios.
But they're punishing us. They don't want to talk to us. So they complain that it's going to shut down the business, but they don't come to the table.
And it's set to be one of the biggest days on the calendar for cinemas across the country today. The Barbie movie starring Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling is officially released today, while Oppenheimer is also out too. Entertainment and sport next. The Matildas begin their Women's FIFA World Cup campaign tonight in Sydney against Ireland. Captain Sam Kerr says they've been waiting for this moment for a long time.
To have the realisation that we really have brought the Women's World Cup to Australia is a really proud moment for all of us.
Australia is 8 for 299 at stumps on the opening day of the 4th Test at Old Trafford. Dave Warner contributed 32 runs. Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins are the not-out batsmen. In NRL, the West Tigers will be searching for their second win over the Dragons this season in Wollongong tonight. The visitors will welcome back winger David Norfoluma as he makes his return from a shoulder injury. And in AFL, the Roos are preparing for the return of Alistair Clarkson as senior coach. He'll be at the helm for the final 4 games of the season after taking an extended break to focus on his mental health. In entertainment news, Kim Kardashian's popular shapewear line Skims is now worth $4 billion. The Hollywood A-listers brand is continuing to grow at a staggering rate. It had an evaluation of $3.2 billion at the beginning of last year. Jenny from the Block has a new block in London. Madame Tussauds' New York location has unveiled their new Jennifer Lopez figure, which was inspired by her opening look of the Super Bowl halftime show in 2020, which she co-headlined with Shakira. And images have been released for the new live-action remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The photos were taken on the set in rural England and show the dwarves of all different genders, ethnicities and height. The new movie stars Rachel Zegler from West Side Story. And that's the latest from the Nova podcast team. We'll see you this afternoon for another episode of The Update.